YouTube videos in maximum quality, 4K 60 FPS HDR, look excellent, but they have a major problem. Scenes with forests, snow, confetti, or similar elements make everything look strange and pixelated, no matter what device you're watching on. But here's something interesting. In 80s and 90s television, this never happened. Documentaries looked great, and the image never pixelated. So why does this happen now? Have we actually gone backward in video and image quality? And what do downloaded JPG and PNG images have to do with all of this? Well, stick around, and I'll tell you all about it. Before we begin, I want to clarify something. This topic is extremely difficult to demonstrate exactly as I want you to see it, for reasons we'll discuss later. In short, I render the video in a specific format and quality on my computer. But when I upload it to YouTube, they convert it into their own internal format and multiple quality levels to make it more efficient for various devices. So if I say something and it doesn't look exactly as I describe it, that's why. It's hard to show it exactly as I rendered it. Now that we've covered that, let's move on. The video you're watching now, if you have it in 4K, has a resolution of 3840 by 2160, and that's over 7 million pixels making up the image. It looks great, and if you add HDR and other enhancements, it looks even better. But digital video content, whether in 4K or higher resolutions on platforms like YouTube or Netflix, has a major weakness. It can't compete with the video quality we had 40 years ago. Right now, we're looking at a majestic white tiger and a lioness resting with her cubs. If you're watching in 4K or even 1080p, it looks great. This image quality is the result of years of development and hard work to give us such detailed visuals. But what happens when we move to the forest? I promise you, this is the exact same 4K resolution at 30 frames per second, or 1080p if you're watching in full HD. But it doesn't look the same, right? It's as if the resolution suddenly dropped drastically. And no, we simply switched from one scene to another. Yes, there are many factors like the camera, lighting exposure, and video format, but even if recorded with the same camera under similar conditions, the result would still be nearly identical. Why? Simply because it's a forest scene. But in old television, this never happened. A long time ago, when we used analog television, a camera recorded what was to be broadcast, and through analog transmission via antennas, everything the camera captured, every pixel, was sent over the air. This meant that what people saw in their homes was exactly what the camera recorded, whether it was a live program, the news, or a pre-recorded documentary or movie. In this system, there was no compression. Everything the camera captured was broadcasted as it was. This worked fine because back then, each country had only about 3 to 5 analog TV channels. So there was no need for a more efficient transmission method. But over time, we digitalized everything. With the rise of digital content and the expansion of the internet, platforms like YouTube and streaming services emerged. Sending uncompressed video, maintaining a one-to-one relationship between the broadcaster and the viewer, as was the case in analog TV, became completely unfeasible. If we wanted to do something similar today, we'd need to increase the global average internet bandwidth by about 10 times. Right now, that's nearly impossible. As new cameras capable of recording in HD and full HD hit the market, file sizes kept increasing. Sending exactly what was captured by these cameras to viewers worldwide became increasingly difficult, especially with poor internet speeds. As demand for YouTube and streaming services grew alongside video quality, a solution had to be found. You've probably downloaded an image from the internet and noticed that it ends in JPG or PNG. When we download an image in these formats, we're getting a compressed version of the original captured by the camera. This compression reduces file size. For example, a 10 megabyte image might shrink to 1 megabyte by using algorithms that remove or simplify parts of the visual information. The JPG format, for instance, reduces file size by eliminating details that, theoretically, the human eye won't easily notice. This is useful for fast image transmission, but it has a downside. If you zoom in or if the image contains a lot of detail, like tree leaves or grains of sand, quality loss becomes apparent. Edges look blurry and strange artifacts like blocks or patches appear. PNG, on the other hand, is less destructive and usually results in slightly larger file sizes. It's often used for high-quality images like text graphics or illustrations, But even this format is more efficient than sending an uncompressed image. So what does JPG and PNG have to do with the quality of our videos? A lot. When we upload a video to a platform like YouTube, it goes through a similar process as JPG images. YouTube uses specific compression formats like H.264 or VP9 to reduce file sizes and make streaming to millions of users feasible. As I mentioned earlier, I upload a video in a specific format, usually MP4, but YouTube converts it into another format. During this process, parts of the visual information are discarded. Compression algorithms try to remove details that aren't as noticeable, but if a video contains complex scenes like a dense forest, falling snow, or moving confetti, the sheer amount of visual information is so high that the compression algorithm has to simplify it even more. This results in that pixelated, lower quality look. That's why when we compare modern digital video with old analog broadcasts, we notice an abyssal difference. In analog TV, there was no compression, so what we saw on the screen was a faithful representation of what the camera captured. But in the digital world, every video encoder, the software responsible for compression, has to decide which pixels deserve a place in the file. When there's too much detail, some of it gets sacrificed. But what do you mean by sacrificed? Well, it largely depends on bitrate. Bitrate is a complicated concept, but here's the basic idea. It's the amount of data processed per second in an audio or video file. A higher bitrate means better quality, but also a larger file size, and bitrate is exponentially affected by movement in the scene. Yeah, I know. That explanation made no sense. So let's do a practical example. Right now I have a static background and I should be looking pretty good. Now that's because we're recording at 100,000 kilobits per second of bitrate. YouTube will modify it slightly, but now I'll drop that bitrate to 144 kilobits per second, which is around the minimum. In theory, I should now look pretty bad. If you can still make out my facial features, it's because the video codec is doing an excellent job. But let's push it further. Let's add some snow since we're in winter right now. The video should be getting pretty pixelated now. Still not enough? Let's throw in some confetti. At this point, the video should look extremely pixelated. But let's go all out. Let's add a forest background. Now, the video should look absolutely terrible. Now let's take this chaos and increase the bitrate from 144 kilobits per second back to 100,000 kilobits per second. Even at this high bitrate, the video should still look very pixelated. But remember, bitrate depends heavily on movement. So, I'm going to stop everything. And just like that, we see that everything depends on motion. Thanks so much for watching this video. Thanks for subscribing to this channel. I read all your comments, so leave one below. You might appear in the next video. Remember that you can become a member to help me continue making these types of videos. Thank you very much and see you next time. Bye-bye.